Well, I see a message on the screen that tells me that the meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So I think that we should begin. I'm going to try to pull up the page here. I see it. I see us. We're live. All right, thanks everyone for your patience while I get the screen set up the way that's going to make the most sense for me. All right. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tucson Poetry Festival 2020. My name is Melanie Madden. I'm the Executive Director of the Tucson Poetry Festival. And I am here tonight with a gathering of Tucson poets and Arizona area poets that I'm so excited to introduce to you all so that we can spend this time together sharing some poetry and a little bit of intentional time together during a moment in history that is extraordinary, to say the least. So the theme of our festival this year is Poetry to Sustain Us. And we decided on that theme because we felt like we were in the middle of a dark and heavy time already. And that poetry is one of the things that gives us energy and helps sustain our will to fight another day. And so we wanted to celebrate the spirit of that with the Tucson Poetry Festival this year. And that is why the theme is Poetry to Sustain Us. Because these are extraordinary times, we are meeting virtually, obviously online. This is being recorded. And I hope that there are people joining us live on Facebook. I was trying to watch. Okay, great. I see that 21 people are watching. So what I need to be able to do is mute it though, so that I don't hear an echo of myself or worse, broadcast one for everyone to see on a strange loop, because I know that there is a 20-second delay. So we will begin with our first, well, actually, before we begin with our first reader, in acknowledgement of the enormous grief that the world is holding right now, and the many losses of loved ones that we've experienced in the world, and particularly in our own Tucson community, I would just like to acknowledge the loss of Isaac Kirkman, a mystic and a poet who meant a lot to me and meant a lot to a lot of poets, means a lot to a lot of poets in Tucson. So if everyone would just take a moment to be present with yourself and your breath, I'll just hold space for a few seconds, and then I'll introduce our first poet of the night, Pamela Uschuk. Thank you. Let me see if I can pull up this bio. It's going to let me do that. Okay, so I'm going to read an excerpt of Pamela's bio, which you can find on our website, TucsonPoetryFestival.org, where you can also find links to books by our poets that you could purchase. But political activist and wilderness advocate Pam Uschuk has howled out 6 books of poems, including Crazy Love, winner of a 2010 American Book Award, Finding Peaches in the Desert, Tucson Pima Literature Award, and her most recent Blood Flower, one of Booklist's notable books in 2015. Her collection, Refugee, is forthcoming from Red Hen Press. Translated into more than a dozen languages, her work appears in over 300 journals and anthologies worldwide, including Poetry, Plowshares, Agni Review, Parnassus Review, etc. Among her awards are the War Poetry Prize from winningrights.com, New Millennium Poetry Prize, Best of the Web, the Struga International Poetry Prize for a theme poem, the Dorothy Daniels Writing Award from the National League of American Pen Women, the King's English Poetry Prize, and prizes from Ascent, Iris, and Amnesty International. Editor-in-Chief of Cutthroat, a journal of the arts, Uschuk lives in Tucson, Arizona. She edited the anthology Truth to Power, Writers Respond to the Rhetoric of Hate and Fear, 2017, and also just edited Puro Chicanx, Writers of the 21st Century, March 2020. Please welcome Pamela.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I'm losing light, although Bojan said I'm well lit, which made me laugh. I love that. Thank you, Bojan. And thank you for thanks to the Tucson Poetry Festival. And thank you, Melanie, for all of your work on this. Thanks to all my friends for looking in, if you are. And I really appreciate you. My sister Val and Aho, Fenton, Patricia Jabba Wesley, a Liberian poet who won her country's humanitarian award. A lot of people are looking in tonight to listen to all of us. And I want to start the reading with a poem that was chosen by Joy Harjo for the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day series called Green Flame. So this is for Joy. Slender as my ring finger, the female hummingbird crashed into plate glass, separating her and me before we could ask each other's name. Green flame, she launched from a dead eucalyptus limb. Almost on impact, she was gone. Her needle beak opening twice to speak the abrupt language of her going, taking in the day's rising heat as I took one more scalding breath, horrified by death's velocity. Too weak from chemo not to cry for the passage of her emerald shine, I lifted her weightlessness into my palm. Morning doves mourned, hoo, hoo, oh, hoo, while her wings closed against the tiny body. Sky would quick forget as soon as it would forget mine. Second poem from Bloodflower. We were talking about a little bit about eco-poetics today, or with someone, Avery, actually wrote a very, very nice eco poem in our workshop. And so I chose this poem for Avery. And it's called Chernobyl Revisited. Excuse me, could you turn on I've got to turn on the light. I'm losing too much light, sorry. No, that other one. Yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I can't see. There. Sorry, the sun went down. Genesis revisited the Chernobyl buffalo. And as you know, in 1986, Chernobyl was a nuclear plant that had a meltdown in northern Ukraine. And our ancestors came from Belarus, from Siberia, and the Czech Republic. And so that area is hot for me. But what happened after Chernobyl blew up is this. You would see dystopia come true as your skin if you could walk these glowing forests growing up through pavement in the abandoned city. Mushrooms crack sidewalks, vines and bushes chink condo walls, while bourgeois houses sink like stumps into a wilderness that would excite Thoreau or Muir, as much as frighten the ghosts of my great-grandparents, irradiated in the path of the fallout. Through the girdered skeleton of the nuclear plant is a perfect view of the rotting skyline, and restored by once extinct beavers, the labyrinthine channels of the Pripyat swamp that stopped even Genghis Khan's bloody march. Now a few researchers are allowed to roam the exclusion zone, hefting Geiger counters that click like an explosion of typewriters, tapping obituaries for buffalo bones, tree limbs, phosphorescent soil. But what they discover is destruction that begets Eden, complete with angels, healthy packs of gray wolves, buffalo, moose, sturdy deer herds, white-tailed eagles, ravens, and miraculous reincarnated beavers, pristine beyond their scientific dreams. Against toxic apartment walls, wolves curl against howling winter snow. Come spring, buffalo graze at ease between sprouting deciduous trees that were once shopping malls. How many decades have we feared apocalypse? It's no secret that the self-destruction we craft is precisely what this planet needs to heal. To spawn ozone, we continue to deplete, clean up multitudes of poisons we've shit all over our gifts. Think of it all restored. The smooth lope of wolves over clean snow, buffalo and their spiritual eyes we exterminated worldwide. The wide leaves of rainforest trees spreading instead of urban sprawl, generating what we could breathe deep to live, what we tried to kill divine. Next poem is from an anthology called What Saves Us, edited by Martina Spada, which is a really must-have anthology of resistance poems. This poem is for Terry Acevedo and is called Cracking 100. Near the border, preschoolers worry about butterflies. How can they fly over the wall? 20 feet tall, thick steel plates would sear delicate wings. And lizards, miss, how can they get through? Small fingers draw orange wings, crashing into steel, lizards hanging their blue heads. Y el tigre, severing ancient migration paths, the wall will ensure the jaguar's end. Just after Cinco de Mayo, daytime temps crack the knuckles of 100, 10 degrees above normal. No wall can stop rising heat, the death of coral reefs, or the governor calling the National Guard to secure the border. In holding cells, children separated from deported parents wait for a future no one can predict. And in the San Joaquin Valley, strawberries and tomatoes rot in the fields. Farmers wonder where the pickers have gone. Immaculate in his Armani suit, the president tweets for congressional support to build his wall, calls for a prayer meeting in the Oval Office. You can hear Bible hymns hum behind bulletproof doors, across the lush White House lawn, where monarch butterflies, who've migrated all the way from Mexico, land on bright rose petals, tended by hands the same color as earth that nourishes them. And this next poem is for my husband and my stepdaughter, Jennifer Root and Bill Root. And it is Ode to Federico Garcia Lorca from the book Wild in the Plaza of Memory. Federico, sometimes you come to me as a little rain, straining up from the south, smeared with the scent of orange rind and blood, smeared with rabbit blood, coyotes ring the house, howling the hour, the moon ticks like a gypsy watch above the pool where the heron sleeps. Where the heron dreams a smear the size of the moon is actually a guitar moaning the syllables of your lost name. Federico, when you come to me, the unbearable longing of trees roots deeper in the sky, flies among stars like a comet in search of its dead twin. Federico, the wind tonight is Arctic silver, not green, not forever green. And I think how easy it is to die. Skin basted with orange blossoms and loneliness, as if loneliness was a horse a poet could break or deny. Tonight you are the slivered silver moon, ticking above cedar and sage that remember their roots in the olive groves of Andalusia. Green rind of death, how dare you spit out the syllables of such desire? Federico, some nights you fly through the window, the eye of a hawk on fire, black gaze gone to blood, gone to the ropey bones of moonlight, to guitars laughing in blue pines, to the wet bowls of passion, to the weft of love abandoned, to oiled rifles in an olive grove on a sunny day before I was born. Did they so fear the delicacy of your hands? And final poem. I have an illegal alien in my trunk. I actually saw this bumper sticker on Oracle Road and I chased the woman, but I couldn't get the bumper sticker. I have an illegal alien in my trunk. Just north of the border, La Migra doesn't consider this bumper sticker a joke. Only a Chihuahua without papers, maybe a pair of pawned cowboy boots would fit in the trunk of this mini SUV driving Oracle swarming at rush hour. Even though half of Tucson's traffic speaks Spanish, the legislature has declared English the only legal fuel. It's the same continental divide, stubborn and paralytic as the steel-plated wall, insulting our nation's learning curve as it cleaves us. For over 70 years, my grandma's high cheekbones were illegal. Lovely as a tiger lily, she spoke the 6 severed tongues dividing her heart. In a grave that does not spell out her name in any language, she is beyond the shovels of police who would have to dig up her bones to deport them back to a village outside of Prague, where beneath a Catholic church are layered the crumbling skulls and femurs of her ancestors, slaughtered by Black Plague and centuries of war. I am safe in my adobe house with its rainbow congregation of chuckling quails, pyrhulaxia, choirs of mockingbirds, skitterish purple finches, coyotes, scorpions, and leopard lizards, and the not so silent majority of English sparrows who accommodate too easily to walls. There is not one passport among them. Each day along the border of our sealed hearts, gleaming with coiled razor wire, traffic idles, waiting for armed guards to pillage each car trunk for contraband people and drugs. I have seen our agents rip out the interiors of vans, spit commands at old women with black hair and dark skin. Sanitary, they use rubber gloves to deconstruct the grocery bags and purses of common lives. Indians are particularly suspect, even though reservations were drawn like tumors by both governments to spill across borders so that whole families are amputated like unnecessary limbs. This morning, walking the Rito River, we read bilingual signs warning the thirsty not to drink irrigation water, ringing ornamental bushes and flowering trees. Who can stop tongues, alien or otherwise, from swelling black at noon? After all, in the barbed wire waiting room of the heart, there is no seating for sentiment, nor room for the frail arms of hope to save strangers, even if they are nursing mothers or desperate fathers looking for work. After all, waging a war on terror, like any war, is not for the faint ambitions of the humane. So, in the game of homeland security, we erect a bulletproof wall across the borders of our souls that guarantees destruction must win. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. That was really powerful. Yes, applause, applause. In other Zoom sessions that I've been in, we use ASL applause to indicate our pleasure with what we have just seen, or our satisfaction. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I can't get it to mute.
Oh, don't worry about that. Okay. So I will now introduce our next poet of the evening. So let's see. I can pull this up. Okay. Bojan Lewis is the author of the poetry collection Currents, which received a 2018 American Book Award, and the nonfiction chapbook Troubleshooting Silence in Arizona. He is an assistant professor in the creative writing and American Indian Studies programs at the University of Arizona. Please welcome Bojan.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming out, showing up. Logging in, I guess. I'm just gonna read a few poems. We talked about a little bit of form today in the workshop, tercets, couplets, and the poetic form puzzles. So I'm gonna read a few puzzles and maybe one or two poems from the collection Currents. This is called Puzzle 5. Monsoons, says the barber, arrive hotter, much later to the desert. A Sonoran winter illusion of an ancient ocean becoming a desert. I love this guy whose hometown burnt to the ground. Same street, perpendicular to my first wet dream. Paradise, a pine-coned desert. Check this out. Any lightning-struck tree, beware of it. Keep yourself safe from the ascending smoke. You know, pollen dusts like a desert. After years away, I return to the high ground of a wash, shell of dead needles crackling, beneath them a skunk skeleton desert. Listen, listen, listen. Shamasana put a paring knife in my hand. Choose a yucca spike. The bayonet end won't hurt like the desert. Nakai chischili nez, where am you growing to? Any place where ash isn't, just the dried veins of our loved ones, their deserts. And a couple from Currents, it's disappearing in the background. This one's called Fire and Ashes. The red off the far ridge, an eating dragon slow coming down the valley. My mom's imagination over the phone, a quarter mile of cars ahead. No one has stopped on their way north or south to capture hotshots turning the beast to smolder. Somewhere out in the burn, under dusk, a rattler den unfurls fast as brush fire and clenches against the inferno draft that blocks entrance and escape. For an instant, or minutes maybe, their unnatural warmth is a comfort beneath the ablaze final day. It's the shape I'm in. I don't tell her that I will leave days from this moment, the high, dry mountain we drive toward, for the ashes of a different monster. Red dirt. I work to be more than roots fed through days of heat and dust, evaporating into a brittle husk, withdrawn and left as only remains. Whether stirred out by force or removed in mechanic iron swoops, I'm simple. Passed over and dumped onto a pile of old ground turned up, open to the air. Bound in earth pack, I release seeds, my blood to be wind-blown and spread. Straining from new foundation, I reach to hold all else, settled, empty of breath. This is another Huzzle 2. Had you bothered to ask, we would have told you how the world ended. Morning, a convoy drowned in the pool. A simple miscalculation ended. Called me whore. Mom recalls her dad's words after being crowned beauty queen. She was cursed, spit on. None of that approximates to her spirit ended. A frosted matutinal clearing of bronze-barked ponderosas, meth-cut blow, half cash, half pawn. Sun prisms through pine needles. Siblings' clarity ended. Your house is hidden from me. On densely forested streets, I never exit my truck. I'm thirsty after manual labor, want to close curtain. This long haul tragedy ended. Stray-fed cats shit and piss, litter box the front yard. I think to guillotine and stake their heads, but they stalk and hiss as a family. My tiny Dracula dreams ended. This is me, Bojan, and I'm here. Early December, I've shed the skins of kinship and brotherhood. The snapdragons and cholla I planted, reminders of deathly heat ended. And one more. This is a very, very new, fresh, still cooling, I guess. I don't know, baking metaphor or something. Maybe still has gelatinous matter on it. I don't know. Huzzle 8. And it starts to break and bend the form and do all kinds of different things. In the PICU, the bow of my right shoelace falls out, linoleum dragged. In the PICU, I count 2 minutes between cries for sucrose-coated pacifiers, 5 for an occluded TPN, 15 for low oxygen plinth waves, every 4 hours Precedex, sponge baths daily. 7 translucent tubes tunnel, 1 bilious remover, another a respirator shushing the minutes and hours and cc's of weeks we've measured life by. Seated next to a phalanx of infusers reading Bulgakov, disheartened by ingredients needed for a vampire named drink, a pandemic exacts itself outside. Our hair thickens, curls in myth and isolation, migraine cries muted with sugar water. Saguaros beyond the window glass ignore us, millimeters by millennia. 1980, I grew the decade with my mother wired and incision stitched. That I'm ineffective against your hunger, I tire, spiral inward toward indifference. Once, I disappeared to Philadelphia, left for the funeral of my only grandma, returned to a single accomplishment, roof repair during earthquake, green swirling skies. Nothing much matters other than you're here, the week's week, rubberized beds and other units, stripped of sheets. You sleep and I see you. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was incredible. Thank you so much, Bojan, for sharing that. I think we all feel, I've had a lot of trouble concentrating lately, and I should have written things down today. There's so many things I needed to write down, thinking about when I was walking my dog after all the workshops, thinking about all the different themes that had come up, and there were lots of connections happening across the workshops that I got to be witness to. But the idea of witness certainly came up, I think, at the very beginning of the day, and it's been important. So thank you so much for that. This is phenomenal. Okay. Oh, and poets. I should tell you that I'm watching the feed on Facebook. There's a 20-second delay, but you're going to want to watch this back when it's over so that you can see all the comments that you're getting and the heart reacts and all the hype from your adoring fans who are watching live now on Facebook. So cheers, salud, and I will now introduce our next poet, who is Sylvia Chan. Sylvia hails from the San Francisco Bay Area, where she performed as a jazz pianist. She lives in Tucson, where she teaches in the writing program at the University of Arizona and serves as court advocate for foster kids in Pima County and nonfiction editor at Entropy. Her debut poetry collection is We Remain Traditional, and her essays appear in Prairie Schooner, The Rumpus, and The Best American Non-Required Reading 2019. Please give a warm Tucson Poetry Festival welcome to Sylvia Chan.
Thank you, Melanie, and Tucson Poetry Festival. As per Facebook reminders of our past lives, it just triggered in me today, this very day, 2 years ago, that I read at the Poetry Center with my Arizona MFA people. So it seems very fortuitous that I'm able to do this today. And I also wanna say something on, kind of begin on, you know, how difficult it's been to get, like, I really, I don't know, I've had people asking me, why are you slow, or why are you not responding? Why are you just at a standstill? So I'm gonna begin there, just reading from my Wyoming traditional. And one of the things that has really been bothering me, and I've yet to say it in a public forum, so I guess this will be it, is, and I have to say it because it's just gut-wrenching, it's just gutting. I've been the target of xenophobia and anti-Chinese remarks. The last one of which the person told me I should kill myself. So seeing, you know, not just one or two, but several of these hate rhetoric and sentiment has just been a lot to deal with. And it made me, the poem I'm gonna start off with today, it made me think about where I come from. A lot of that has to do with the unknown. The story that I'm gonna tell about my grandmother is from my mother, who was not yet born at the time these events happened. And I want to be able to pass that on to my posterity, no matter how unforgivable and how unfathomable. We have to bear witness to this. We have to pass it forward in hopes it doesn't happen again. Prodrome. The body canopies arrive at midday after the principal has been quartered, with a donkey tied to each limb. The murderers send boxes too for the stumped parts. My grandmother won't receive her entire husband, just his wrists. Pinpricks of severed nerves like opium needles in the back of a heel, framing the base of his white hand. In my history, my maternal grandfather could have been any number of quartered souls. Pulling the hair off the leftover 4 fingers didn't mean it was his. My grandmother just had to know. I wish for selfish victories, arguments, sick days, the resolve to stay unmarried, our chaste love in a low-slung bar, sharing craft beers till Lana Del Rey's Jesus in her dashboard. You talk about drinking hollow at college graduation, then rushing to the emergency room for another accident. The picket fence sliced through the girl's body, the fatal price for attempted robbery. Did the rope slice through my grandfather the same way? A stern warning to make amends before it's too late. Nothing psychologically glorious. No terror, please. My grandmother's voice aches like perfect storms or Alice Notley poems. What does occupation do to a person? I'm too busy trying to salvage my love life to separate the good Chinese terror from the bad. In her storm, my grandmother scats a rhythm that's not jazz or any intelligible English. Nim o nai ho, ho ho va. Drink more soup, it's good for you, her remedy for all untenable losses. She didn't know she needed to determine the precise weight of her husband's body to claim it. Did she imagine his fingers around her torso? Today in workshop, we talked about contrapuntals, both in music and poetry. So I thought fitting to read one of my own. It's something I definitely wish I could go on forever about. And in this, a little bit behind the process about this poem, it reveals the title of my book, which originally I wrote out. So in one sense, I wrote this poem to write the title back into the poetry book, another way to get out of revision. One contour in the narrative break. Adam, eye bright, his teeth puff from menthol's cold, his preferred cigarette. I remember this textbook posture, how to read Ceylon, the dew from his lips in open humidity, still. Nothing like the park patrollers, men and women of consequence, watching us for time, the slowest musical duration for this listener. Nothing like remonstrance of having the final kiss. I play a passage in my fake book, whose name did it transcribe before mine. Our necks no longer undermine our voices. So that's the left hand first voice. Here's the right hand voice, second voice. In a time of warfare, we remain traditional. Nothing like two, the lines depict a ritual. And then the third poem altogether. Adam, eye bright, his teeth puff from menthol's cold, his preferred cigarette. I remember this textbook posture, how to read Ceylon in a time of warfare. The dew from his lips in open humidity, still, we remain traditional. Nothing like the park patrollers, men and women of consequence, watching us. Nothing like 2/4 time, the slowest musical duration for this listener. Nothing like remonstrance of having the final kiss. I play a passage in my fake book, whose name did it transcribe before mine? The lines depict a ritual. Our necks no longer undermine our voices. And then I'm going to end with the last poem in my book, Personal Concept. In the rehab waiting room, Adam sometimes Adam, one person, one name, cracks his knuckles, apologizes deeply for the car accident. Heck o' Nifon, heck toy. The man who did you wrong, my mother called it. The stepfather's plot. The child abuser, the sheer luck of being beside Adam when he drove into the dark-haired woman, may she rest in peace. I know the employability of my reconstructed hand, the thrill of anger in my arm. No need to temper the pain, it's only my body. When I write the unforgivable, the songs are the sensate part of my body. Simulated sunlight, I'll drink at night. My belly will head straight for the impulse to peer into windows, a private insecurity. I'll drink chicory at dustlight and come morn, my ears will cold the coon songs that suture Betsy's lyricism, a dark transcription of prideful racism. Your fingers transcribe dozens and dozens of pop songs whirring through your brain. You're writing enough for the both of us. I tap, I'm a hustling coon to slow you down. Don't be racist, you say. Why would you write such derogatory music? In Pieces Freud's, Satie wrote, cold, crooked dances, his predilection for ragtime. I believe the composer had to preface his own sadness, or at least leave his room. My hand can manage slivers of metal and 16 stitches, but there are other complications. And the man with the green eyes like mica chips, Adam, who did me wrong, asks if he can see me. He says I remain beautiful regardless of the accident. Violence always has to preface beauty. You hated that I wasn't wearing gloves all the time, that in this world of shame and counterfeit music, I'd rather see the man who almost killed me than you. Transcribe, shame's counterpoint, or praise, praise, praise. Shove me into a think tank. The next time I hear of him, it's in news articles and the commemoration service. His Facebook says to wear a smile all the time, like this would prevent his first-degree murder. Then you say your hand feels better without him. But I'll never forget my first love. Must feel like Satie tapping on every 13 white keys to 9 black. But my hand will never again hold a glass of whiskey. Adam, what damage I'll temper the world will shudder back long after bullets have been pumped into our bodies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for your poems, and show it for everyone. We remain traditional. Again, if you go to our website, TucsonPoetryFestival.org, and click on the book fair link, you can get links to purchase any book from Antigone Books, which is available for curbside pickup or delivery. So, thank you again, Sylvia, for your beautiful poems and for your testimony and for allowing us to witness and hold space for acknowledgement of the evil that's happening. We can't let it. So thank you again, just thank you. And again, if you could see the comments on Facebook, everyone is very much moved by this reading. So thank you. I will now introduce our next poet. And I'm going to out myself as not a native Arizonan because I'm about to mispronounce the name of a city. Please forgive me in advance. Sean Avery is a rapper, poet, and teaching artist from Avondale, Arizona. Avondale. Their work integrates hip hop, music, poetry, and theater to explore how Black masculinity is projected onto their body. They strive for an authentic performance of self, hoping to inspire others to examine their own identities. Avery's work has been featured on Afropunk, Blavity, the 2015-16 Wisconsin Film Festival, and the 2018-19 Chicago Hip Hop Theater Festival. They've shared the stage with performers such as Saul Williams, Lemon Anderson, and Jay Ivey. They're also an alum of the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a BA in English Creative Writing, where they received the nation's only full tuition hip hop and spoken word scholarship, First Wave. Currently, Avery teaches throughout the Phoenix Valley at schools and nonprofits while performing their hip hop play and album Skinny Black, both regionally and nationwide. Skinny Black, the album, is available now on all streaming platforms. Please welcome Sean Avery.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be reading. Thank you, Melanie, and the Tucson Poetry Festival. I went to workshops today. They were really phenomenal. I went to Bojan's and I went to Sylvia's. So yeah, it was just a great day, and I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. Can everyone hear me? Cool. My computer has been giving me a little bit of internet problem, so I hope that nothing slows down during this reading. Just want to give a quick shout out to my mom and my dad who are watching on live stream. Hi, that's awesome. Okay, this first poem is called Genius. There's no limit to what you can do, and so much brilliance credited to you, who calculated the distance between a gas giant and one of its moons, who sewed and embroidered the flag of a nation built on your servitude, who led a party for self-defense against the country's counterintelligence, and raised your own children and their children and sold children, or family was sold children, your Ashanti's full as blood moons, like running enslaved people past marshlands of gunmen and swamplands of hungry dogs by mapping out constellations, who works a fourth of the week and still takes loans from the bank using your own savings to ensure your daughter gets a college diploma. And if you never reared a child or saved a life or saved a home, You would still be glorious, alive as your feet when your song plays daily. You find a way to reinvent joy. You are the best things about summer days, sunlight warm as syrup, splashing up water at sunset with someone you love. This next poem is titled How to Make Mumble Rap. I just like to give this disclaimer that I do not condone the title, the term mumble rap. I think it's a discredit. So I have to lead with that because, you know, some people might get confused. How to make mumble rap. Turn up gunshots. Plug in Melodyne. Bridge the noise between being shot and discovering the wound. Capture a dope boy's ambition with 808 drums. Remember, someone died for these 16s. Introduce the verse with tire screeches. Build brand new, fresh out the box kicks. Smoke before and after for inspiration. Study sirens as one studies symphonies. Record kitchen appliances for snares. Sample local evening news. 14 shot in 48 hours. Notorious downtown drug house shut down. Lay the hook like a trap. Once heard, no escape. Test the track at a strip club. Test the track again at another strip club. Add the producer's track. YouTube search how to make hi-hat triplets. Make a SoundCloud account. Upload weekly. Watch a docu-series on crack cocaine in Atlanta. Blast the mastered track. Remember 25 to life without parole is the minimum sentence for those who are arrested living this song. Lastly, visit any university. Peep what's blaring from a white kid's car window as they drive by. If it's not playing there, start over from the top. And this last one, I forgot to put a timer on for myself. Okay, I'm good. So I'm just gonna do one more. It's called Corpus Meum 1. Corpus Meum is Latin. I may be mispronouncing that. I have not read Latin in a long time, but it translates to my body. So. My body be the finances of empires, old as greasy mountain, black as the mountain's backside at dawn, older than star studies and gods. My body both built and builder, countries stand because we bent. My body, royal we, a risen demigod Phaethon, the sunbringer, a boy thought to be a relic and fertilizer. My body, dark-fleshed, blue fire. I sing my body's song, throat like whittled wings. I praise my body, learn to hear their needs, calm them until the quivering quits. I still remember our first sprint. April date, mountain wind. How even then I mistook that marvel for my body's meaning. How even now I give my body so much forgiveness. And that is it. Thank you so much for listening. That was really fun. I'm excited for the rest of the night.
Thank you, Sean. That was wonderful. We have just one more poet this evening. It's gone very, very quickly, but as far as I know, this is being recorded, and well, it's definitely being recorded, and I'm pretty sure that Facebook is also recording it. So again, you'll have an opportunity to revisit if you can stand the sound of your own voice on recordings, playbacks, which sometimes I find a little bit hard to do. But again, you'll want to see the great interaction that the reactions that people have been having to your poems, and all the love that you're getting. And I do think that it's wonderful, since we can't be in rooms together feeling that love that we always do when we come together in rooms to listen to and share our poetry. It is nice that we have these virtual means to at least somewhat replicate that. So I will introduce our final poet of the evening. Maybe before I do that, I'll make a couple of announcements. One, we are going to have an open mic tomorrow night. If we haven't already filled up, the sign-up sheet was very, very close to full the last time I checked. The open mic will be at 6 p.m. People who register in advance will get a link to the Zoom meeting. And again, we will broadcast it on Facebook Live for anyone in the community who isn't going to be reading but wants to watch our open mic, because there has been some exciting stuff being generated in the workshops that happened today. And I have a feeling that after this reading tonight, more than one person is going to go back to their notebooks and maybe, if not have some new ideas, some old ones they'll return to with renewed vigor. So I'm going to introduce Diana Marie Delgado, author of Tracing the Horse, a New York Times new and noteworthy selection. She's the recipient of numerous grants, including a fellowship from the National Endowment for the Arts, a graduate of UC Riverside and Columbia University. She currently resides in Tucson, where she is literary director of the Poetry Center at the University of Arizona. Please welcome Diana Marie Delgado.
Hey everyone, hi. I'm gonna take off my glasses, even though it's like kind of weird. The reflection is like, I don't know, it's like startling now that it's like nighttime. But thank you, Tucson Poetry Festival, and to the other readers that have read before, reading these stunning poems, and also leading the workshops for the community right now during a time that is very strange. That's the best way, the best thing that I could say is just all of it is strange. That said, I'm going to be reading, I'm putting back my glasses because that wasn't working, but I'm going to be reading some prose poems. My book, Tracing the Horse, if you haven't purchased it, please take a look, get it from your library. But one of the things that really pulled the book together was the prose poems that I wrote toward the latter part of like editing and creating work for the book. So I wanted to read some prose poems from there. And I also wanted to read a prose poem that didn't make it in. And I'm going to start with that poem. November Rain. November Rain is the perfect breakup song, poem for the aftermath. The music video's just as good. Slash, bare-chested, walks out of church playing his guitar while a camera pivots. Later, Stephanie Seymour, who plays Axel's wife and was married to him in real life, bitch slaps a blonde. Then she dies. Seymour does. Only to star in another good music video, Don't Cry. In this one, she doesn't die. Axel does, and is reborn as an infant with emerald eyes. They split after she alleged he hit her. Stephanie Seymour, supermodel, long legs and a bodysuit. I saw pictures of them when she said he beat her, and they looked happy. You can see it in their eyes. Before the moon tangles your hair. Mom follows me around the room like a cat and sits next to me, expecting my father, expecting change. After she kicks him out, he works out at La Puente Gym with Samoans who shave his head and turn him into one of them, young, tall, fierce. Everyone waits for something to hallow, but his wait is longest. My mother has a dream where the devil, disguised as smoke, comes down from the attic and twisting around and around her, leaves her unable to cry out. One of the benefits of these prose poems is that they're super short, which is perfect for Zoom, at least in my opinion. Primos. After the wedding reception near the dumpsters where the man who ran the parties told us to throw the trash, I see two older cousins kissing. And when my headlights catch their faces, they turn, their eyes aglow. The kind of light I give off isn't going to last. There should be somewhere to put the heart when it dies. If only I can hear you opening again a flower. But nothing is ever real. Everything dies. The heart of a woman shuts so tight when pierced it waters. I was jealous. His girlfriend had horses. And what girl doesn't want to come home and ride horses? The wind said you'd fly back, but men grow damaged from cutting vines that blossom in the dark. I know what you want, a burial inside me. Have you ever opened an apricot warm by the sun and found worms? Maria. Let's admit there was never going to be a baby, let alone the one we talked about that year. She would have been beautiful with long feet, a bad temper. I'm gonna read two more poems. Some guy I liked who dated strippers. You have sleep in your eyes as we climb the hill to the Sheraton Hotel in your mini truck. The golf course glistens on both sides and we sit beneath an oak tree. When you grab my hand, every hormone bothers me. You're not my tomorrow. It's 3 a.m. The sprinklers turn on and your jacket is covered in watery diamonds. I'm actually going to read two more poems. I hope your eyes don't bleed if I go over. It's tremendous. Two more poems. Notes for White Girls. Roaches bubbling out of drawers and cabinets, so many that each time a boyfriend asked for something to eat, I'd head to the kitchen, turn on the light, and squash with my hand whatever I saw running. They thought I had them sit in the living room because I liked serving them. Life as a girl in a Mexican family can feel different, sometimes like you're not part of the family. And the last poem I'm going to read is titled, Who Makes Love to Us After We Die? I turn on the radio and hear voices, girls becoming women after tragedy, talk about dreams. His heart was covered in a thin shell the color of moon, and when touched, I'd grow old. The best movies have a philosophy. Dorothy, after being subjected to girl-on-girl violence, is rescued. Someone hanged himself on that set, a man who loved but couldn't have a certain woman. Management claimed it was a bird. The best movies begin with an encounter and end with someone setting someone free. In Coppola's Dracula, the camera chases women across a garden until they kiss. The man I loved after many years asked me to choke him in bed so that later, cleaning the kitchen cabinet, I found a recipe he'd carved into the wood, and I had a hard time believing him. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deanna. So as it turns out, no one on Facebook can see the peanut gallery that's watching. on our view. They just see the speaker who's talking at any given point. So again, thank you to all the poets so much for your spirit, for your heart, for your work, for your witness. Two other words that did resonate with me throughout the workshops today. One was tension, and another was leaps. And so I hope that we can all take some of what we've sat with tonight and take it into our own work going forward, and really remember that we're all here for each other, and poetry is here for us, and it will sustain us as we get through. So thank you all very much. Speak out against xenophobic hate whenever you hear it. Sometimes it sounds innocuous, it never is. So we all need to be speaking out against that. So thank you again to everyone in the community who shared this time with us. Be sure to order books from the library or from your local independent retailer, and write poems, and join us for the open mic tomorrow night. Everyone have a great night. Bye-bye.